This hospital is being accused of advertising birthright tourism. It surrounds the Mission Regional Medical Center, which marketed maternity packages for foreign nationals through these billboards in Mexico. Check this out, come over here. These ads promoted deliveries starting at nearly $4,000 for a natural birth, $5,000 for a C-section. They also directed expectant mothers to a website called HaveMyBabyInTexas.com. I don't know if you can see that right there. HaveMyBabyInTexas.com. The site has since been taken offline. Now, this hospital sits just miles from the U.S.-Mexican border. Here's the south side of the Rio Grande. This is Mexico. And here, just a few miles north, is the Mission Regional Medical Center. Total of roughly 6 miles. In that range, on the Mexican side of the border, 2 billboards at the border crossing promoting those packages. Both, again, have now been removed. Now, these billboards are pouring fuel on what is already a very heated debate, as you know. Estimates suggest up to 26,000 babies are born in the U.S. each year through birthright citizenship or birthright tourism to get birthright citizenship. A hospital spokesperson says, quote, the marketing materials regarding maternity services are no longer in use due to any unintended misunderstanding. We do not support or facilitate any unlawful activity and work to comply with all applicable federal and state laws. Now, Texas Governor Gray Abbott is ordering an investigation. Quote, American citizenship is not for sale, and Texas will not permit our healthcare system to be used as a magnet for birth tourism. So what comes next? What comes next for Republicans, from Republicans in Congress on birthright citizenship? Let's ask Texas Congressman Brandon Gill, who joins me now. Congressman, it's good to see you. You know, before we get to birthright citizenship, and I do want to talk about that with you, we're Texans, you and I. What do you make of this? What do you make of this advertising in Mexico?
Well, it's disgraceful, and I think that it's deeply insulting to every single American. We recognize in America, as American citizens, that American citizenship is worth far more than $4,000, that you don't just cross the border and enter magic dirt and have a child and that child become fully American. You know, becoming an American citizen means not only that you have constitutional liberties, that you have legal and economic protections and social opportunities that nobody else in the world has, but it also means that you are a part of the American body politic, that you have the rights and responsibilities that come with being an American citizen, meaning you can influence our system of government, our rule of law, how this country functions, and that's not something that we just simply hand out to our geopolitical adversaries or to anybody who just simply crosses the border for the purpose of giving birth. That's not how our system has ever been designed to work, and that's the core problem here that we're getting to. It's protecting our country and our people and recognizing that America is for Americans, and we're going to keep it that way.
That is the core problem. There's also a core problem when it comes to this particular story, Congressman. You may disagree with me, I'm not sure, but the hospital in Mission offering obstetricians and gynecologists to Mexicans for a fee is not actually a big a problem for me. The problem is that those medical tourists get not just really high quality medical care, they get birthright citizenship. In other words, if we did not have birthright citizenship, I would not have a problem with this service being offered at the border. You know, the problem is it's coming with the most valuable thing that we have to offer, as you point out, which is citizenship in America. And that brings us to this. What do we do now? We've heard the Supreme Court. What can you do in Congress on birthright citizenship?
Well, I completely agree. American citizenship is the most valuable thing in the world. That's why people all over the globe seek to come into the United States and want to become Americans, and why we have to protect it. But there's a few things that we can do going forward, and I'll say shy of a constitutional amendment that would clarify the 14th Amendment, which I think we would all love to see, but politically would be impractical at this point, given the opposition we have from the left. One is that the Congress can pass legislation that clarifies what's subject to the jurisdiction thereof, that phrase in the 14th Amendment that the left latches onto. And there's been legislation from some of my colleagues, which I support, that have done just that. I think those would get litigated, but that would at least move us in the right direction. At the same
Well,
time, we can
may I interrupt
enforce
you?
our
And I
border laws
hate-
much more stringently.
I hate to interrupt you, Congressman, because every time you speak, it's like you
Yep.
spin out pearls. But I'd have to follow up with that. You point out the political impracticality of a constitutional amendment. Isn't it also politically impractical, and not just because of Democrats, because of Republicans to even get legislation on birthright citizenship? You could probably tell me the who, but I know there are Republicans who would stand opposed to that legislation.
Well, I would hope that at this point, every Republican would recognize the issue, the problem that we have right now. That after 4 years of open borders under Joe Biden, that you have millions of people who came into this country illegally and who are now anchored to the United States because they have had children here, and that is an abuse of our immigration system, and it's an abuse of every single American in this country. So I would hope that all Republicans, certainly Republicans, would recognize that, and I think we got to continue making the case so that they do. I think certainly on the House side of the aisle, or in the House of Representatives, they do. But I think that apart from legislation that we can put forward, we can also implement greater enforcement, and that's what Governor Abbott has done so well recently by going after these businesses. That's what we're doing on the task force that I chair on the House Oversight Committee by investigating multiple different birth tourism companies. You cannot facilitate illegal activity. I think there's a compelling case to be made that these businesses are engaged in a criminal conspiracy, and we want to make sure that they're held accountable.
Yes, enforcement, absolutely. That can be done today. Legislation getting done tomorrow, well, that's a question for Senator Thom Tillis, Senator Mitch McConnell, and maybe a couple congressmen as well over in the House. Are you willing to support legislation reforming birthright citizenship? I'll let you ask that question. I'll ask it publicly, and we'll find out if we can get Republicans on board with something like that. Congressman Gill, good to see you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right.